Hello and welcome back to the channel. In today's episode we've had a special request. It's part of our challenge series, so it's going to be sketching organic materials, more specifically a whale shark. And well, if you want to have a go at doing this at home, then you're going to need a HB pencil, a sheet of plain paper and an eraser. Let's get started. Okay, so first of all, currently, do your whale sharks look like this when you draw them? If the answer to that question is yes, then you've come to the right place. This is definitely the video for you. So, there's a few things that we have issue with on this current illustration. The first one being, it doesn't look like a whale shark. Some would argue that it does, but I can assure you, it does not. Right, we're going to try and create something from this reference material here, which is organic in its nature, three-dimensional, and also a whale shark. Right, so first of all, we're going to have a look at the fact that we've got this sort of oval sort of shape here for the mouth, the lips. We've got this organic sort of body shape here, which I'm going to try and create. And again, it's sort of like an oval, so I'm going to just recreate that oval shape there with my pencil. And then I'm going to sort of just plot on this second oval down here, where those lips are going to be. We're going to sort of recreate this bit that goes over and round. So we'll go up and over like this, and down into like a point, and then we'll come back to the main body, I suppose, of the main part of the shark. Of course, we've got this dorsal fin that curves up, curves over the top, quite steep. That curve there, that curves there is quite a steep curve. And then it sort of breaks back down like this and curves back round, and then it just swoops back in at the end and then curves back out to meet the body of the shark. We have a second fin at the back here, which again, carefully looking at it, curves out before it goes back in again. Again, you can sharpen that up again with a sketch. And then lastly, we have this almighty fin at the back. Now notice I started here, not at the very end. So you can see there I'm starting here, not there. I'm going to come all the way up, and then I'm going to bring it down at an angle, curve back round, and then as I'm coming down here, I'm going to sketch this out, and then it's going up quite sharply actually, and then it joins up here somewhere as well. Now that effectively is an arrow, so it should kind of join. So you can see here where it's kind of, imagine it's going to join together. So if I get rid of that, you can see that it's going to kind of join that bit there. Okay, so now for the underneath part of the shark, this is the main form. We've got these fins here, we've got another fin sort of sticking out like that. Sketch that on. And then we've got this almighty large fin at the side here, this massive powerful fin that's used to get this guy from one part of the ocean to the next. Now curving it round, bringing it in like this, and it sort of joins on back over here. Then there's this large, looks like a cheek I suppose, of the whale shark that sort of curves around here and goes back that way. And this is all under shadow, so it's probably about here somewhere actually. So, and then there's like a line here that joins to what would be the eye, and the eye is probably going to be about there somewhere. And what else have we got on here? We need to look at. We need to be careful of this mouth now, because the mouth's nowhere near where it needs to be. So making sure you're watching your reference material quite closely, we can see that actually the mouth's more over here, and it's quite flat on the top. And it goes around the back there. This even curves a little bit. It scoops all the way back round like this. And then there's this little part here, a little bit like what you have in your cheek as well. These little scoopy bits, and from the eye it goes up over the top to create the first part of the lip, and then this wraps around, and this creates that little, almost like an eyebrow I suppose, not an eyebrow, like a, oh yes, like a brow of the eye I suppose, and that then sketches over here like this, and then joins this little curve like that. Now at that stage we've pretty much, apart from this bottom lip that I'm putting in here, we've pretty much got the most part of the form down now. So main sections of this shark rather, are in. Now I can also add in these little like, a little bit like ribs I suppose, but they're not ribs, of course they're not, but ribs in terms of following this shark pattern, this shape. They almost help to sort of guide the 3D form through it as well, so how this all comes together. Right, now for this part, this mouth section, I'm going to try and shade this in all in one go. There's nothing, I can't really see through it. It's pretty much darkness in there, and it's supposed to look like it's going to go in a long way, so to shade all that in dark really at this stage makes a lot of sense. We've got this sort of 3D part here that scoops around, and that gives the sense of scale, how big and how powerful these fins are. And then here there's some shadow there as well, so let's get that shadow in. This is pretty much in shadow as well, as too is this second fin at the back. Now the whole of this back fin seems to be pretty much all in shadow, so I'm going to go along and add my shadow to this, shade all that quite nice and dark. It'll give the impression of depth as well. Getting gradually lighter and lighter and lighter. And one of the key things when sketching, you've got to have fun with it, you've got to enjoy it. Now the only time you're going to start enjoying it is when your sketches start to end up looking like what you're trying to draw. When they don't look like what you want to draw, you get frustrated with them. It's easy then to give up on them. Now at the moment what I'm doing, I'm just focusing on the tone. I'm just adding the dark and light parts of shadow and shade. Then afterwards I can apply a pattern to it. The whale shark has this gorgeous pattern, naturally occurring in the wild, which is beautiful to say the least. So just add in those tonal values, the light and the dark. Doesn't matter if it's perfect, doesn't matter if it's not perfect. What matters is we're sketching. And with every sketch, we're going to be making improvements. You've got to try, otherwise you'll never make an improvement. Okay, and also along the way, there's going to be plenty of mistakes. I can assure you there'll be plenty of mistakes. I'll be making plenty of mistakes with this, proportion-wise and what have you, shape-wise. It's okay, it's part of that learning process. Okay, now onto this pattern. Now I'm going to do a series of curves like this, which are going to suggest those circles, as opposed to actually drawing each circle individually, which for one will take me a long time, and two, you end up losing the realism of your image. So you can see they almost follow these ribs around. They just sort of follow down here like this, down in, and going down here. There's a few on the little dorsal fin there. They almost have this like little pattern going in here like that as well, don't they? So, right, I want to be spending no longer than 15 minutes on this sketch, really, to give you a bit of a clue as to what we're doing. So you guys can spend, as per usual with the design challenges, 30 minutes on this sketch, so you're going to have double the amount of time I have. So I'm expecting your work to look the bee's knees. Now all I'm doing here is going around the outside and just darkening off those lines. Just to sort of finalise this sketch and to say this is what my shape's going to look like, this is the actual end result. And there might be lines on there that you're not happy with. And it's at this stage now when we have an opportunity to actually change that and say, well, no, okay, this is going to be that line, and I can draw that line on a little bit darker. It's also good to sort of take a step back as well and look at your image from afar. How's it looking tonally? Is it living up to what you're expecting? Now, looking at that there, I can see that here there's that sort of cross between the shadows. So if I put that there, all this needs to drop back into shadow. And then the darker parts need to go a little bit darker. That'll leave the lighter parts a little bit lighter. And all of a sudden now it's going to start to create that impression of 3 dimensions. Now there's another technique I'm going to show you in a moment. If you've got an eraser, fantastic. If you've not, and you're going to struggle with this next section, it's not impossible, but it's quite challenging to do without one. Right, now let's add a little bit of texture over here in the corner. Quite happy with what I've got there, just having another little quick glance, and you can see how I'm shifting my head to double check and keep looking at my reference material. I'm quite pleased with what I've got there, and what I'm going to do is very, very lightly, tonally, just shade over the whole object to give it a little bit of tone. So I'm going to shade over the whole thing. Now I've turned my pencil at an angle, so more of the lead's hitting the page, which gives me a softer way of shading. So essentially it goes from looking like this to looking like this. Okay, so a little technique there for you. Let's zoom in so you can see that a bit clearer. So it goes from, well, it goes from sketching like that to turning it on its side and then sketching like that. So I get a much softer sketch. I get a much softer line. Okay, so that technique I was going to tell you about, I'm going to use the eraser. So I can erase parts of this out like that. And I'm going to do that on here to create those circles. So I can actually come in here like this. And if you've got a rubber on the end of a pencil, that's probably ideal. Then you can come in and start to create those quite easily. If not, you're going to have to use the corner of your rubber. You have to use a little bit of precision here to get those patterns in. Now I don't have to do like I said before, I don't have to do every single circle there. Just have to give the impression of that pattern. Try and follow that pattern on your reference material, and even over here they're going to fade back, so I can add a couple of little bits down there as well. And then of course we've got them on here. Don't push on too hard though, because you want to make sure that it looks a bit more natural. There we go, adding those, just adding a little bit of definition to them now. There's even this little bit that seems to wiggle down here like this, a little pattern we can add in there, like that. And all this is just using the rubber. There's even a small section here of highlight where presumably it's reflecting off the water. And all I'm doing is just using the pencil eraser on the end of the pencil and just rubbing back sections of my whale shark. A bit of highlight there as well. And then just on this fin, just gonna come down here and add a little highlight. And that's just with the eraser there. So let's just get rid of this bit. Let's just finish it off. There's my 15 minutes are nearly up. So there we have it. Let's head back home base. Finish this video off. Now, we have taken and learned in today's session how to create a seemingly 2D image into a 3D organic image using that sketching technique and starting to sketch out those shapes. We've used the eraser to add highlighted areas, and we've used the pencil on an angle to create nice depthy tones for our sketch. We've practiced here for 15 minutes and I'm wrapping up the video now at 16 minutes and 20 seconds so that you guys can have a go at home. Now, for you guys, your challenge is to spend about 30 minutes on this sketch, so double the time. So just think about how much tonal value you could add to that, how much dark and light you can add in there. I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys create at home. So, I'm going from that at the top down to the bottom. Until next time, stay safe and don't forget to subscribe. Bye now.